If you shoot digital raw photographs and therefore post-process your photos in something like Capture One or Lightroom, then you have one overriding decision to make right at the start of the workflow. Namely, are you going to keep it natural or are you going to creatively grade your photograph? There's no right or wrong answer to this question. Edit your photos the way you damn well please and don't let any miserable bugger tell you otherwise. But if you have decided you'd like to keep your photograph looking as natural as possible, then there is an underlying tool which is crucial to achieving a natural looking outcome, and you can find it in every RAW editor app on the planet. I am, of course, talking about the white balance sliders, color temperature and its twin, tint. If you want to achieve as natural a looking photo as possible, then you should try and steer clear of the standard color grading tools completely for several important reasons. When you start using something like a color mixer tool, HSL, or color wheels to shift one color into something else, then you fracture the color relationships in your image. No single color in your photograph sits in total isolation to the rest of the color spectrum. If you choose to use the white balance sliders to grade your photograph, then you maintain the relationship between all those different colors. It's like playing a chord in a different octave rather than changing its key or shifting from major to minor. Since all colors are shifted simultaneously, that delicate balance between the tones is maintained and overall color harmony and realism of the image is maintained. In the real world, when the light changes, it does so according to the Kelvin color temperature scale. If the sun emerges from behind a cloud, it doesn't just increase the color temperatures of the orange tones, it warms up all the color tones. And if cloud is blocking the sun completely, then the cooler tones down the bottom end of the color temperature scale will affect the entire scene too. So when you use the color temperature slider to warm up or cool down a scene, you are mimicking real world lighting and the way our eyes perceive color shifts in various lighting conditions. Making changes to specific tones in an image, particularly those tones towards the far end of the color temperature scale, can result in unwanted side effects like artifacts. Shifting the color temperature of the shadows, for instance, can increase color artifacts or noise. And if you get quite aggressive with the old hue shift of one particular range of color tones, then you risk introducing banding to your photograph. This kind of issue is particularly noticeable when the tones in question are a subtle gradient such as skin tones. I've been focusing on the color temperature slider, but there are of course two sliders that affect global colors, temperature and its twin, tint. So how do you know when to use which one? The answer is actually really simple. You use the color temperature slider when you're correcting warm or cool color corrections along the blue-yellow axis. And you use the tint slider when you are correcting for green or magenta color casts along the green-magenta axis. Your photograph will probably require a combination of both sliders. Most RAW editors have an eyedropper tool which you can use to select a neutral color such as neutral gray, and it will set both sliders for you. Using global white balance is simple and quick. If you are a photographer who aims to keep things as natural as possible, then you will aspire to get your photos right in camera. The logical endpoint of shooting natural styles is to not do any post-processing at all. However, cameras often get the white balance of a scene wrong. And even if everything else about your photo is right, it might still look too warm, too cold, to have a magenta or green color cast compared to how you remember the scene. So it's entirely appropriate to tweak temperature or tint even if your long-term aim is to eradicate as much post-processing from your photography as possible. If you're a landscape photographer, then you can set the white balance correctly for one image and then sync that setting across all the other photos you shot under those same conditions. The added advantage of this is also that your photos will have maximum compatibility across whatever apps you choose to manage or process them with in the future. So those are just a few reasons to use the white balance sliders at the base of your post-processing workflow, and possibly be the first and last tweak you make to your photograph. Personally speaking, I like to mix things up and prefer not to restrict myself to any particular endpoint. Some shoots I'll process very minimally, and sometimes I'll wheel out the big guns and do granular local adjustments using masks. If you do like tweaking specific color tones or like to create complex edits using local adjustments and precise masking, then the white balance should still be the first adjustment you make. There's a reason the white balance sliders, temperature and tint, are at the very top of the slider stack in pretty much every RAW editor ever made. It's because it's the foundation stone of your shot, and all the decisions you make about light and tone after that point will be affected by the white balance you choose at the start. Do you prefer the natural style of processing, or do you consider that the RAW is just the beginning of your photograph and enjoy creating a vision you imagine with the powerful tools at your disposal in good RAW editors? Do let me know in the comments section below. If you got value from this content, then please hit the old like button and consider subscribing for more photo, video and drone related content from me. Till the next time, guys, from the new office, ta-ta.